So, Matt, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about Mark Millar's Nemesis. This is Nemesis Forever, issue number one. It's coming off. It's a direct continuation of the last run that we read. Twitless, what was the name of that? Nemesis
Rogues Gallery.
Rogues Gallery. Yes, it's a different artist team this time, uh, and we've got Matteo Scalera is the artist for this. Colorist is Giovanna Nero, and Nemesis is basically he's adopted a of course he kills like an Elon Musk type character and adopts his persona. He's basically the most powerful tech bro in the world, and that's helping to fund his villain status as he kind of he's already the most deadly assassin of the world. And he's got big plans. This time it's going to be global, and the good guy team, really bad with proper nouns, but there's a good guy team, and they've managed to abduct and switch out a particular an explosives expert on Nemesis's upcoming scheme. Someone he's never met before, who's never been photographed, but she only has one eye. So they're going to switch out with someone of their own team that they've hired in, and she's decided that it's worth it to go without an eye in order to stop Nemesis, the world's deadliest villain, who's going to destroy the Earth and make superheroes impossible. Basically, it's pretty high stakes. With this new team, it's a thrilling read.
So my hot take for this particular issue of Nemesis, opening issue one of a whole new little saga. We didn't get much Nemesis in it, and it does a great job of setting up all of the characters that will play a major role in this storyline, but we just aren't getting enough of the main. Is he an antagonist in this case? He's the pro-antagonist. He's a hybrid of the two. He's villainous hero, but sadly, not enough Nemesis. The other critique I would offer upfront is the art actually isn't as strong as Rogues Gallery. It has a bit of a washed out aesthetic. It reminds me of old Salvador Larroca from Extreme X-Men. I know that Pepe Larraz also draws this way on his X-Men books. I don't know if this is a particular aesthetic, but I'm not sure it works the best for Nemesis, since it does diverge pretty heavily from what we've seen from previous artists in the series. It's also a little bit paneling heavy, but that maybe is a little bit too OCD. But I just felt like there weren't enough of those big lavish panels that we're typically getting in Nemesis that occupy so much space and give us so much detail and color for the character.
So it's been no mistake, or it's been no there's been no mistaking the fact that I don't really like the Nemesis series. My biggest complaint is that he is, as a character, everything that the memes say about Bat God, which is a meme about Batman and his prep time, that he can kind of essentially have infinite plot armor if you give him just enough time to do it. But in reality, when you read a bunch of Batman, he gets the crap kicked out of him all the time. Nemesis is every stereotype about Batman. There's parts of the story where it seems like he is like 11 years ahead of everyone else, like literally. And it's just like, not even Batman is actually that far ahead of his opponents, but they actually make Nemesis, like I said, the stereotype that people have in their minds about Batman. So he has all of this plot armor, but as a horrible, disgusting monster terrorist rapist. And that is just, after a while, it's just, and none of those things are lies, by the way. In this overall series, he's all of those things. And
embrace the monster horror terrorist rapist, right. Twitless.
but I'm trying to come from a place that isn't just repeating the same note that I've had here. And I will say this, which is the fact that as much as I don't like Nemesis, the pitch of this I like better than some of the previous ones. This is a bit of a return to form for the series, in my opinion. The original Nemesis was him being kind of the evil Batman inversion, down to the coloring, right? And essentially him being pitted against a good cop, right, to try and solve his crimes. And then in the previous series, we had basically former people that Nemesis had hurt ganging up to try to stop him, and then all being horrifically murdered. But in this pitch, we're going back to like the CIA being the good guys trying to stop him. And I was instantly actually invested in watching good guys, because like even though I hate Nemesis, as an antagonist, he is very hateable, and that is something you sometimes want out of a good antagonist, someone you want to see go down. And so there's a part of me that goes, is this it? Am I finally going to see Nemesis go down in flames? Are the good guys, the white hats finally going to win? And here they're set up because he's such an awful villain, they're willing to go to great lengths to stop him. Like I said, that woman with her eye, to go undercover, she gets her eye surgically removed so that she can potentially put a stop to this awful mega monster. And I'm instantly attached and invested in her arc because I want to see her succeed, because he's an awful piece of crap. And so because we returned to the roots a little bit, with, kind of having a more grounded protagonists, essentially, they're like agents of something more realistic, and the woman who's already sacrificed a part of her body to try and stop it. I actually like this better than Rogue's Gallery, and I'm actually, and so but there's a caveat, which is, what I'm afraid is going to happen is that we're going to do that inversion deconstruction where she gets horrifically murdered in a sickening way, and I'm going to feel like I want to vomit, which is what has often happened in this series. But if Millar actually does something different here and eventually like has her triumph and the good guys kind of like give this guy the thrashing he really deserves, then I don't know, I'm on the fence. I'm hopeful for what this might be pitching, but I'm also really worried that it's just going to rub my nose in it again.
So, coming at it from the art angle, I had to do a refresher with the last run that we did, and I kind of overall I was surprised to remind myself that I did kind of like it, because it was just so dirtbag, like it was like 3D assets, right? And we talked about this a lot. Like when you limit yourself to that much reference heavy art, the action is pretty limited, and like everything feels a little kind of drawn back, and you just kind of you're stuck with what you can get out of the poses, and that just felt that kind of paired well in this kind of dark, like a very cynical way with like the dirtbag characters, where I just felt like the comic was just completely shameless. And I just felt numb reading it, and that was an experience. It actually I think in a way it paired well. This time, it's clear like Matteo Scalera loves to draw. he is an illustrator who loves drawing and loves making comics, clearly. So he's having a lot of fun. It's just an incredible amount of dynamism. It's clearly Mark Millar doing Mark Millar still. Like he's in his same lane. Like it reminds, it's like all the flashbacks, the night terrors of the last run are coming back, but seen through the vision of Matteo Scalera, it just has energy and excitement this time. It doesn't just feel like a dirtbag comic. It feels like I've invested. I mean, there were good guys in the last run that I wanted to feel for, but it was challenging because the visuals were stunted. Now I'm still seeing people who are like really, I'm kind of motivated for the sake, like as Twitless is, to care for these people. This time I care for them more just because the art is more thrilling. Like it's more emotive, it's more dynamic, there's much more motion and care in the paneling, and I don't know, like I'm definitely not numb anymore. I didn't know I could feel while reading a Nemesis comic.
I do like the Nemesis character. Like I understand the visceral reaction of having a character so vile be the main character, but it's a caricature, and so for me, it's palatable. I enjoy the representation. I think the only thing that probably is off-putting for me about Nemesis is if it's the antithesis of Batman. Batman has depth to him. He has a motivation, and there's no explanation in any of the Nemesis stories that I've come across yet. Maybe I'm mistaken here, but that gives him a bit of an arc, gives some reasoning or explanation why he is this two-dimensional archetype of villainy. But it's fine. It works. But I agree with Twitless. The side characters, the ones that are being set up to play a bigger role in the story, are actually very interesting. And I did like this setup of the woman having to sacrifice her eye, because that's the lengths that you have to go to get this villain and actually get revenge for humanity and protect everyone. And I am rooting for the side characters. I want the side characters to be the main character, which is a really interesting writing approach, right? Where you put the side characters in the role of the people that you would cheer for, and the main character as this two-dimensional, less interesting, but catalyst driving the story and plot forward that you're supposed to be following throughout the entire series. So it's a unique approach, but it works. It works, and everything was set up very well. And that's a good explanation on the art as well, Matt. I do see what you mean about the dynamicism being at play more so in this series. And yeah, I think I definitely agree with that point as well.
I agree on the art. Yeah, I think the art here is better. And that's interesting, because there is the fact that the previous art did play into a certain thematic grunginess, which can also contribute thematically to what's going on with such a villain protagonist. But the visuals here, I think, are definitely a treat. They're definitely outside of the typical superhero register, or I say that the typical superhero register has been like broadened significantly, right, for many years at this point. So it's definitely, I would say, indie comic, but it's big, it's grandiose, and it's drawn. You know what I mean? You don't get the sense that you're getting like traced buildings. You get the sense that he's there's a double page spread of a city just getting lit on fire, essentially, and it doesn't feel like he just did some cheap tracing. It feels like he drew it, which is nice in a comic. And that's not a guarantee in modern comics that you're going to get that. And that goes for both Western and international comics. There's a lot of manga that's just basically just photos with a filter on top when it comes to the backgrounds, especially. So that's not the case here with Scalera. So he's definitely putting some work in, and that's fun to look at. And I do agree. I think it's adding to it may be coloring, and that some of that work is down to the colors as well. And I definitely feels more Euro comic, I'd say, just in general. I got a more European comic feel to this, which, yeah, no, definitely agree on the art.
Yep.
Can I, at the risk of sounding really stupid, there's one cool detail. I'm sure Wellred's gonna throw this up. There's a couple panels that demonstrate this. This is a very pro move from Scalera. If you've got a character who is all white, how do you make him pop on the page? If you're not a pro like Matteo Scalera is, you think I need to only put him on dark backgrounds. Well, how much is that going to limit your palette and your options? You have to put this guy all over the place. You have to make him interesting in bright and dark, everything in between kind of situations. You don't want that kind of costuming decision to limit your compositions and your palettes. So what Scalera does in this, there's not really a term for it. It's kind of like chiaroscuro. It's like alternating values. It's something that people particularly have developed in comics with, inking and stuff like this. But but he will just go, and this is really cool because Nemesis is a really dark character, right? So there's like the irony there that's being played with visually. You sometimes you want to put him in shadow. You actually want to have him fade into black in certain spots. Like if he's running or something, like one of his leg just fades into just line work of black dark inkness, and then you could have the bright background, right? So he goes from foreground character, which is white, dark background, and then it alternates into dark character with light background. He'll do that in several panels on this one character, and that kind of rich dynamism. There's a tension when you do that. It feels dynamic, but it also feels it can often feel unsettling to do that sort of thing. He only does it with Nemesis, and I think that's just I love to see it. You rarely get a chance to see it because you often don't have a character who is, who's begging for that kind of opportunity, like a character who's only wearing white. But it's not just a great compositional move. It actually kind of feels, dare I say, like symbolically relevant to do that with this character. I don't know. I just really geeked out on the art. It just made me care about this arc, which was been a challenge for us to read, frankly. Just looking at the script of the plot, just thinking of it from only that perspective, it's pretty bleak. But when you get those little pearls like that in paneling, it just puts a grin on your face.
Did you feel like there was a bit of a overt lack of action? There wasn't really a wow set piece here to draw you in. We had a bit more, I think, being established in the last series, especially in the earlier issues. But in this one, yeah, he attacks a subway right at the end. It's I don't know. Is it appropriate for the tone of this first issue?
I think so because of the role he's going for. Because he's going back to being like his scope is bigger than ever, right? And so because of his power set is basically being evil Batman. So we'll see some scenes like it's alluded to at the climax, the conclusion of this issue that he's going to chop some people up. But it's going to be, from what I gather, that most of what we're going to see are his grandiose set pieces being the focus here, right? So in this issue, it was the blowing up the subway that led to the city essentially kind of being caught on fire. That's that big double page spread. So essentially, the villain's plans coming to fruition in extremely grandiose ways because he wants to take over the planet this time. He's taking on the entire world, their governments, the superheroes apparently who have yet to show themselves. Like it's. I would expect that this series is going to have a lot of not necessarily him just chopping people up himself by himself, which will still happen, but I think the focus will be more on the big grandiose and then I blew up the city and then whatever, and probably scaling up as we go. This issue starts off with a city on fire, so it
he
can only
actually does what's on the cover. He writes "I'm back."
Yeah.
Explosions.
So I'd expect it to ramp up from here. So if he's blowing up cities in issue 1, he's gonna blow up the moon. You can't really put anything past Nemesis and what goes on in these series. The whole one of the pitches I think for readers is just what's he gonna do next? He's kind of like a Fu Manchu. He's this villain who can kind of do anything really, and the heroes just have to try and put a stop to it. And you're kind of half wanting him to put a stop to it, but you're half wanting to kind of see if he kind of pulls off the crazy insanity that he's promising.
I don't know. The blow up at the city at the beginning just kind of hit me as flat, but what do I know? Maybe I've just seen too many cities blown up in comics.
Well, what other little thing? This one will be quicker. This is what you get when you've got an illustrator who loves to draw and isn't as reliant on reference. You can have that crazy, extreme, kind of exaggerated grin. There's like a shit-eating grin that Nemesis has now, which we don't get with, the 3D model approach. That adds so much, I feel like. Now it's not just like faces talking and, heads, bodies turning and doing things. which was an aesthetic in the previous run. Now it's like this guy. I mean, his face is literally twisted, you know, as he's doing this stuff. So even though like we might we might be not seeing exactly all the stuff that we saw in the, you know, as much high octane as we saw in the last arc yet. I just feel like those little character moments, they just read better now, so they're more satisfying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not just like, okay, this is just rote prose, like character in scene. Okay, you know, send to print. Now it's like I can really relish the good guys and the bad guys, particularly the bad guys with this. It's a better invitation to enjoy what's happening.
So, what are our concluding thoughts? Well read.
I enjoyed it. I'm along for the ride. I think I'm more invested than I was in the first one that we reviewed, Rogue's Gallery. So good establishing character, situation, and overall tone. So looking forward to the rest of the series.
And Matt C.
Yeah, you know, I'm a sucker, as you can tell, for the art. So it's actually kind of saving the series in a way for, you know, like this new run kind of excites me in a way that the last one didn't. The last one just felt like I was being experimented upon, which is interesting in itself. But now it feels like I'm here for the love of the game, and I'm here to see what Nemesis is going to do, and certainly how he's going to be stopped.
Thank you very much for checking out the video. Subscribe, like, and stay tuned for more.